Hi. Okay, so it turns out the most interesting thing I read about on the internet this year, other than all the baby stuff, and there was like a lot of baby stuff, and it would make you crazy. But the best thing was Haecceity.
Could you just speak a bit away from the mic?
Yes. I can do that. Excellent. Okay, where's the clicker? I need to play. Right. Okay. So, every year the EDGE Foundation, which is one of those cute associations of really, really clever people, asks thought leaders in a given subject matter to answer a single question. And they collect the responses and they publish them in a little book on their website, which is called edge.org if you're interested. And the question this year, which was proposed by Steven Pinker, was what scientific concept would improve everybody's cognitive toolkit? So as I'm browsing Reddit over my morning coffee, I think, that's a really good fucking question. And it's not just because I did the scientific method, but it's because the responses offer pointed differences between the way that scientifically literate people perceive the problems that we need to solve every day. So some of the answers were kind of obvious, and I think that Richard Dawkins got his answer in early because his response was the double-blind controlled experiment. It's like, well, no shit. And then correlation is not causation, and living is fatal. They also seemed like pleas for people to just acknowledge reality. But there were some really obscure, brilliant responses. So, my favorite one was by Bruce Hood. Okay, and it's mostly because the syntax made me think that I'd like deep breakfast in the diner with him. I judge people by the ring, and I liked his. So in addition to being cute in like a Tom York sort of way, he's an experimental psychologist who specializes in developmental cognitive neuroscience. And his answer to what concept would improve everybody's cognitive toolkit was Haecceity. And I never heard of this, so if you took philosophy classes and you've heard of it, then this might be boring. But I was like, that's a cool term. So Haecceity is a philosophical concept, and it literally means thisness. It comes from the Latin word haec, which means this. So while we describe an attribute that connects all members of the group as quiddity, wetness, Haecceity describes the attribute that makes an individual unique, kind of like a snowflake. And even though these slides kind of stink, I did not mix metaphors. So I got that going for me. So as Hood writes, and here I'm going to read, Haecceity explains why you can gradually replace every atom in an object so that it no longer contains any of the original material, and yet psychologically you consider it to be the same object. That transformation can be total, but as long as it's been gradual, we consider it to be the same thing. It is Haecceity that enables us to accept restoration of valuable works of art and antiquities as a continuous process of rejuvenation, even when we discover that we replace most of the cellular structures of our bodies every couple decades. Haecceity enables us to consider the continuity of our own unique self. So, it's not a purely scientific concept, but Hood chose it because it informs the way we perceive modern scientific advances. When we discuss medical and scientific advances, it's easy to confuse Haecceity, thisness, with quiddity, which is wetness. Okay, so to reiterate, Haecceity is what describes kind of what's special about you as an individual, and quiddity describes what's special about humans as a species, for example, or monkeys as a species. And those are two different kind of nuanced things, is what I'm saying. Okay. So people tend to think of concerns of like evolutionary science and genetic modifications and cloning as similar, because they describe modifications to something that's supposed to maintain its integrity over time. For example, evolution makes some people uncomfortable because it blurs the distinction between our species and others. It compromises what makes us special as humans. But when creationists get upset about the idea, wait, hold on. I have to switch. Okay, good. So when creationists get upset about the idea that they might be quite closely related to the creatures that they see at the zoo or eat for dinner, and I'm suppressing the joke here about people screwing animals and worrying about incest instead of bestiality, what they're really getting up in arms about is the quiddity of our species. Or when we worry about genetically modified tomatoes and mice, we worry that we're getting some kind of unnatural counterfeit instead of the real deal. This is also a concern about quiddity. But our concerns about cloning or organ donation are actually different. Here we're worrying about compromising what makes us special as individuals in the universe, and to our mothers, our Haecceity. So Haecceity is an important concept to know about because it's difficult to have scientific discussion when all you can articulate is a vague squeamishness with something. Being able to give words to our concerns and articulate the difference between Haecceity and Quinity can actually open up new, more open-minded discussions about medical advances like stem cell research. Did I get it? Okay, good. So this is small, and it's nuanced, and it has a really refined scope. But I really like turning it over in my brain this year, and it was one of those things where you're on the internet, and it's like, holy crap, the internet is worth something, because I found out about this awesome thing. Yeah, so I thought it was worth sharing. And here's a gratuitous picture of my perfect unique baby dog, who is special like everyone else.